It's never too late to begin again. The revolutionary power of starting over. Have you ever looked at your life and thought, is this all there is? Or maybe, is it too late for me? That quiet, desperate question that wakes you at 3 a.m., whispering that your chance has passed, your window has closed, your story is already written. I want to tell you about an extraordinary woman I recently had the privilege of interviewing. Lorraine Ewing is not just a success story, she is a revolution in human form, a beacon of resilience who has completely shattered our culture's suffocating timeline of achievement. Abandoned as a child and surviving decades of abuse that would have broken most spirits, Lorraine didn't just survive, she transformed. She became the highest educated person in her family, earning not one but two master's degrees after the age of 50. In a world obsessed with child prodigies and 30 under 30 lists, Lorraine's journey isn't just impressive, it's gloriously subversive. What struck me most about Lorraine wasn't just what she accomplished, but how she did it without a roadmap, without family precedent, without the traditional support systems many take for granted. She didn't inherit privilege or connections. She built her path brick by painful brick, becoming a living testament to the power of beginning again at any age. We live in a culture intoxicated with youth and early achievement. The Wunderkind founder, the teenage CEO, the narrative that if you haven't made it by a certain age, you might as well resign yourself to mediocrity. It's a lie so pervasive that many of us have internalized it without question. But what if that timeline is completely artificial? What if your most transformative chapter could begin at 40, 50, 60, or beyond? What if, and this is the truly radical part, your age isn't a liability, but an asset? When I asked Lorraine about the moment she decided to return to school, she didn't describe some dramatic epiphany with swelling background music. There was no lightning bolt moment. Instead, there was something more powerful, a quiet, steady realization that she deserved more. That despite everything she'd endured, she still had the right to claim education, achievement, and joy for herself. And isn't that the most radical act of all? To look at a life marked by hardship and say, this is not the end of my story. This is merely the prologue. Let me share something that might surprise you. The brain doesn't stop developing at 25, as we've been told. That's a myth as persistent as it is damaging. Neuroplasticity, our brain's ability to form new neural connections, continues throughout our lives. Science is actually on the side of late bloomers and second acts. Your brain is literally designed for reinvention. Consider Jason Verugez, founder of Pink Cloud, a health tech startup supporting addiction recovery in Los Angeles. Jason didn't launch his company in his 20s with venture capital backing and a Stanford degree. His journey began with his own recovery from addiction, a deeply personal struggle that later became the foundation for helping thousands of others. When Jason secured a federal contract, he faced overwhelming challenges, strict compliance requirements, cybersecurity protocols, workforce diversity goals. The learning curve was steep, especially for someone without traditional business training. But through the Resilient Business Advising Program, Jason received the guidance he needed. Today, Pink Cloud helps thousands on their sobriety journey while setting new standards for inclusion in tech entrepreneurship. Jason's story reminds us that our deepest wounds can become our greatest gifts to the world if we're brave enough to transform them. Or take Lauren Lorraine, who pivoted from fashion modeling to launching her own shoe brand. In an industry dominated by men and legacy names, Lauren faced skepticism at every turn. Who do you think you are? The unspoken question that follows women, especially women of color, who dare to step into space not traditionally held for them. But Lauren leveraged her creative background while learning business fundamentals through mentorships and persistent networking. Today, her brand has achieved international recognition with partnerships with major retailers. Her transition wasn't just about changing careers, it was about claiming agency over her life's direction. What Lauren and Jason share with Lorraine is the courage to begin again, to look at their lives and say, there is more for me. This isn't just about career changes or educational achievements. It's about the profound act of reclaiming your narrative, of refusing to let your past dictate your future. For Black women, especially, this act of self reclamation carries additional weight. In a world that has historically devalued Black women's contributions, education, and even their right to self care, choosing yourself becomes a revolutionary act. When Lorraine decided to pursue her master's degrees, she wasn't just seeking credentials. She was declaring that her mind mattered, that her dreams deserved space, that despite systems designed to limit her potential, she would define success on her own terms. This reminds me of the UK based virtual assistant collective I learned about, where many members were the first highly educated individuals in their families. Like Lorraine, they navigated the isolation that comes with breaking family patterns around education and career advancement. They pursued continuous upskilling while creating peer mentoring networks, building the support systems they didn't inherit. What's remarkable is how these individuals transformed their lack of traditional support into a strength. When you don't have a well worn path to follow, you're forced to create your own. And in that creation lies incredible power and innovation. But let's be honest, beginning again isn't easy. It requires confronting the voice inside that whispers, who do you think you are? It means sitting in classrooms or boardrooms where you might be the oldest, the only Black person, the only woman, or all three. It means embracing vulnerability in a world that has taught you vulnerability is dangerous. For Lorraine, returning to school meant navigating not just academic challenges, but also the emotional weight of being a trailblazer in her family. There were no bedtime stories about college life, no family traditions around graduation, no inherited understanding of how to navigate higher education. She had to create all of that from scratch. And yet, she did it. Not just once, but twice, earning two master's degrees and completely redefining what was possible for herself and future generations. This is what resilience looks like in practice, not the Instagram friendly version that glosses over the hard parts, but the messy, complicated, day by day commitment to believing your life can be different. Resilience isn't about never falling, it's about learning that you can fall and still rise again. It's about understanding that your capacity to begin again remains intact, no matter what you've endured. For those of us who identify as high achieving Black women, there's often an additional layer to this journey. We've been taught to be twice as good to get half as far, to never show weakness, to carry not just our own dreams, but the weight of representation for our entire community. The strong Black woman trope has been both armor and prison. It's protected us, yes, but it's also denied us the full range of our humanity, including the right to be vulnerable, to make mistakes, to begin again. What Lorraine's journey teaches us is that true strength lies not in perfection, but in the courage to embrace our full humanity, to acknowledge our wounds while refusing to be defined by them, to understand that healing and achievement aren't separate paths, but intertwined journeys. Self love becomes the foundation for everything else, not the commercialized version that's been reduced to bubble baths and scented candles, though those are lovely, but the profound act of believing you are worthy of good things, of education, of joy, of second, third, and fourth chances. For Lorraine, choosing to love her life after hardship wasn't just a personal choice, it was a radical act of self care. In a world that has often told Black women their primary purpose is to care for others, by investing in her education, she was declaring that her mind, her future, and her dreams mattered. This is the revolutionary power of beginning again. It's not just about changing your circumstances, it's about changing the narrative about what's possible for people like you. So, what does this mean for you? What if you're sitting here thinking about the dreams you've deferred, the education you never pursued, the career you wish you had chosen? I want you to hear this clearly. It is not too late. Your timeline is your own. Your capacity to learn, grow, and transform remains intact. Regardless of your age or circumstances, the most powerful chapters of your story may still be unwritten. Today, I challenge you to identify one area where you felt held back due to past pain or lack of external encouragement. Then take one concrete step forward toward your next goal, whether that's signing up for a class, seeking mentorship, or simply affirming your worth through a daily practice. Remember what Lorraine's journey teaches us. You can always begin again no matter where you start from. The path won't be easy. There will be days when doubt creeps in, when the voice of who do you think you are grows louder than your own conviction. On those days, remember that you're not alone. Remember Lorraine, who sat in classrooms decades older than her peers and still claimed her right to be there. Remember Jason, who transformed his recovery journey into a mission to help thousands of others. Remember Lauren, who refused to let industry skepticism stop her from building her brand. We have been fed a dangerous lie that our worth diminishes with age, that innovation belongs to the young, that reinvention has an expiration date. Today, I'm asking you to reject that lie with everything in you. Your next chapter, perhaps your greatest chapter, is waiting to be written, not despite your age, your background, or your past struggles, but because of them. These aren't your limitations, they're your unique qualifications for the journey ahead. So stand tall in the face of a culture that worships youth and early achievement. Claim your right to begin again as many times as necessary. And know that when you do, you're not just changing your own life, you're expanding what's possible for everyone who sees themselves in your courage. The world doesn't need more child prodigies, it needs more Lorraines, more people brave enough to say, my story isn't over yet. Because in the end, it's not how early you bloom that matters, it's that you bloom at all.